There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question was who decides what is beautiful? And what role do you think beauty plays in reinforcing power structures or asking or acting as instruments of social oppression?
What role do you think?
So, I'm not really sure who decides what is beautiful, but I think it's just kind of, um, it's kind of like what you see the most, I feel like. Like, it's hard to explain because I feel like all the articles are just kind of like saying how, um, like, it depends on your culture or whatever, but a lot of cultures are becoming more westernized, and so they want to look more like white and whatever. But one thing that I really that like stuck out to me because of the paper that we just wrote, I feel like the illusionist video. They said in there that that oh, what is the word? Something like basically that that beauty. Um, I'm losing it. Sorry, my husband just walked in and I totally like lost track of what I was saying. But anyways, so basically what it said was that beauty is um, out of reach. So if it wasn't like that, then there would be no consumers because people buy things so that they can look a certain way, you know. So I thought that was interesting because I feel like whoever decides what beauty is, they always set the bar a little bit too high so that people will want to be consumers and basically shop or like change their face with plastic surgery.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
that
think
was
that
really hard to get out.
it was good. It was good.
um I think that like it can definitely be that way right now because like I mean it's talking about like globalization and how like we have a whole market economy now, but it hasn't always been like that. So I don't know. I think like now I think it really is like businesses in a way who define beauty standards and they do it. I mean, like the marketing departments of big companies, like they know what they're doing. They've done research, they know how to play off of people's insecurities, like in order to get people to buy things. And like it really is like emotional manipulation in a way. But like I mean, obviously, you didn't always have advertisements and you didn't always have accessibility to go like alter yourself and buy things. So I think like we see it that way now because I think corporations have a lot of power right now, but I think it really just has to do with like whoever's in power has the most influence over it. And so it's not necessarily that they decide, but that they're able to like influence how people see beauty.
Yeah. That makes me think of, have you guys ever heard of like how Listerine invented the term halitosis?
No.
So basically like bad breath wasn't a thing and Listerine was a floor cleaner originally and bad breath like it wasn't a big deal and then Listerine like marketed about bad breath and they're like you have bad breath but your friends are too like shy to say anything about it and now we have like mouthwash because of it because they actually like coined the term halitosis. So kind of like the beauty industry is kind of like how many of these things are real standards and how many of them are just like something that was created so we throw our money at it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. What role do you think beauty plays in reinforcing power structures or acting as instruments of social oppression? So I didn't read the whole one, that you were talking about. I think you said you didn't read the whole one either, but it was basically talking about how like the Western ideal of beauty is like used to manipulate other cultures, and I don't know. Like I think she addresses it a little bit, but how like Asian women will say like they're not doing it to achieve a Western ideal, but she's trying to say like they really are. But what's interesting about it is that like a lot of the beauty ideals that Asian countries have, like round eyes or stuff like that, like they're not, or light skin, like they're not new, and they're not new since globalization, and they're not new since Westerners were visiting these countries. Like they've been around for hundreds and maybe even thousands of years. And so I think it's really interesting that like, okay, well, yes, like there is this like this use of the Western image in order to sell things. Like I think that like the way that she's saying that it's cultural oppression, I don't think it's really as culturally oppressive as she's claiming it to be. I don't know. I think there's interplay from the Asians' own culture as well as Western culture trying to sell products or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, like in the one video, they talk. There's in the second video, the girl was talking about how the white skin, like, or like it could have come from where if you were wealthier, you didn't have to work outside, and that's
Yeah.
considered beautiful, rather than thinking of it as a Western, like a Western influence, like it was just a matter of class, really.
And a lot of Asian women will get really offended if you say they're trying to like look Western. Like they're like insistent that they're not. And I think that of course Western media, like being the most prominent media, has influenced it so that of course like people have a tendency to want to look like what they see the most, but or like emulate it. But at the same time, like you can't say that, oh, this TV that they've been watching the last 100 years has way more of an effect than an ideal that's been around for literally thousands of years.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But yeah, no, that makes sense.
So question number 2 is, to what degree can we observe a globalization of beauty standards, and to what degree does beauty diversity exist? What are the implications of this? I kind of got the feeling this lesson was prompting us to like think that everyone is trying to look one way. But I don't think that that's true. I think that that's what we see because like we consume one type of media, or like the types of shops that they're showing, like, and the types of advertisements they're showing are specific types of advertisements that we watched on that short clip. Like if you go to China, like, and you go to the district where they have Western companies, of course they're going to be white women because those are the same women that they use in America to like advertise, or in Europe to advertise. But if you go to a lot of places, like it's Chinese women, it's Asian looking women. It's not like
Sorry, keep talking.
it's not like it's it's all the same everywhere that you go. That's just the way that we see it because we're not in all of those places. So
No, that makes sense.
I did think it was interesting though that a lot of the, like, not a lot of those things, but there were some characteristics that the Koreans liked that are prominent in our culture as well, like white skin. But like I feel like Westernization. Well, I don't know about where you guys are from, but in Utah, a lot of people go tanning, and like a lot of people like the tan skin, so maybe that's not a good comment. But before, they definitely liked like the blonde hair and white skin, and so I feel like um, even though it's been like Amanda brought up a good point about how it's been around for a really long time, but I feel like also some of the, because like, how do I say this? So um, a lot, and that's like where we get like the westernization or whatever, you know, and like the white skin or whatever. And so what if like all of them had like similar ideals, and so then that's how this basic like white skin, beautiful people came about. And so it's that's why we think that it's being westernized. It's westernization, even though it kind of all from the same past. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I definitely feel like there is a component of it that is like that. Um, and like for instance, like light skin traditionally, like anywhere in the world, it meant if you had fair skin that you didn't have to work outdoors. Anywhere that you went, that's what it meant, you know, because if you went outdoors, you didn't have as fair of skin. And so like, but the thing is like we America was the first to like really extend media globally, like in the way that it is now, in TV shows and in magazines and stuff like that. Like, and so it came from us, and so it looks like us spreading this beauty ideal, but I think that you're right, there are elements of it that are similar from everywhere, and if you go back, they're similar from everywhere back further. Like, it's not because they're similar because they became that way after we started spreading media. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point.
I thought it was interesting also the article on um, what's it called? Of African American standards. I took the link to go look at the other article that it was written on. And it was like this white girl went to yoga, and this heavy set African American lady was behind her, and she was just like watching her the whole time, and so from that she just assumed her white skinny girl body, and like she was envious of it. And then this article just kind of was like, no, that's not true. Like, we have our own ways of thinking. But I feel like that kind of is like how America perceives things. Like, they feel like everybody's copying them because they think that they're like this really cool. I mean, I'm American, so I kind of think that way too because I feel like we're kind of grown up like this. But I feel like maybe they've just been around that so much that they're like, oh yeah, you want to be like us, so that's why you're doing this kind of thing.
That makes sense.
So this question number 2, to what degree can we observe a globalization of beauty standards, and to what degree does body or beauty diversity exist? Okay, so you remember near the beginning of class when we went to that website that or the slideshow or whatever that was like the Beautiful Woman Project or whatever, and it takes like pictures of women from around the world. Do you remember that? And we had to like pick one and write a paper on that one and like what it said about their. But I think like if you go back to that and you look at that, like there was a lot of diversity in the women that were included in that. And so I think obviously the photographer chose to do that for a reason. But hello?
Oh, you just barely came back. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you were frozen, so I was like, I was just saying, did you remember the slideshow we had near the beginning of the class of like beautiful women from around the world? Okay, I was just saying like there was a
Yeah.
lot of diversity in that, and so I think that just goes to point out like there like not all of those women were trying to have pale skin, and not all of those women were trying to have whatever, and they had a varying range of like beauty ideals, obviously. And so I think that that goes to show that what is presented in media is one style of beauty, and there's a reason why that one style of beauty works best for that. But when you actually like observe real people, like, and you go beyond like just like the fashion world, like there's completely different sets of beauty wherever you go.
Hmm. That kind of like reminded me of the video of the American in Korea, where she was talking about where her students were asking her like what's beautiful in America, and she's like, well, the thing is there are like redheads that are beautiful, and there's curly hair, and there's straight hair, and there's like a different diversity. And so I think it kind of also depends, like the diversity of beauty also kind of depends on the place. Like I'm sure because
Yeah.
like in Korea, obviously like the most common hair color is like black brown hair, and so that would like for everyone to have that, like that would be beautiful. But when you have like a country like America where everybody's coming from different places, like I think that kind of also creates the diversity of beauty, just like
Yeah.
the diversity of people, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that, like, well, even when you're watching like the Korean girl versus the American girl was very much like like V face shape or V shaped face and round eyes, and double eyelids. But she didn't say it like, if you notice, the Korean girl didn't just say that. She said, you know, a lot of people like will choose the double eyelids, but a lot of people like the natural eyelids. And she said like a lot of people lighten their skin, but a lot of people actually tan their skin too. Like it's just preference. And so she says like this is a trend, but there is like the opposite trend as well. Whereas the American girl doesn't see both sides. She only sees the predominant one. And so like I think that's the point, is that like I feel like what this discussion is prompting us to look at is like the predominant trend, but it's like neglecting the like not predominant but still like big trends, which are like very vast and varying other trends.
No, that makes sense. I agree with that. Yeah.
And I think it's helpful to be a part of that culture to understand the nuance of like, yes, probably most people want this or like looking at models that look like that or want their girl band to look like that, but not all people, and there's lots of other trends that are different than that. And if you're not a part of that, like if you're not from that culture, it's harder to see or understand that. But that's why we can say in America, like, oh, there's varying degrees, but like it would be just as easy for somebody to say, oh, in America, like we prefer skinny girls that are tall and have, long hair and whatever. Like there are standards here that we could just as easily point out, but there's also diversity. And it's easier to see because we have a
Yeah.
bigger population and because we have a like more diverse population. It's easier to see those differences than it is with, for instance, Korean culture.
Yeah. Okay.
This whole assignment reminded me, like my first year here, I was talking to one of my teammates, and my brother came here before me, and he's like this really, like he's really muscular, and everyone thinks he's cute or whatever. And I was talking to my Japanese teammate, and she's like, "Yeah, I remember when your brother was here, all the girls would come to his court and cheer for him, and all this stuff." And then she's like, "But I don't even think." She's like, "Is they're like tall and all this stuff." She's like, "Yeah, my culture, but it just made me think about how like different people, even in boys." So I thought that was funny.
Sorry, it was cutting out a little
It was
bit.
in and out a lot, but I think I got the gist of it.
Canella,
Come back.
we lost her.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, kind of.
Oh crap.
It's like cutting in and
Okay,
out a
am I
lot.
back yet? Oh. Okay, well, nobody said anything, so I was like, oh, this is super awkward.
Sorry.
It's like I got everything but the
No,
punchline.
never mind. It doesn't matter.
Well,
Anyways, back to the.
what are the societal and cultural consequences of hegemonic beauty ideals? What effect does this hegemonic beauty standard have on women across the world?
Well, sorry, I'm just gonna read the question again. It didn't
Yeah.
go through my head.
I think like when you're talking about like international relations, for example, like hegemonic power is a power that is like so far above the rest, like a country that has so much more power than all the rest of them that no other country could possibly challenge them. And so like when you consider that, I think this is a dumb question because I'll just say it, because I don't think that there is a hegemonic beauty ideal, because there is other like beauty ideals that challenge it, and it is changing. I think there is one, like I was saying before, like there's one image that's used for like high fashion, we'll say, but other than that, like it is very different and changing, and I don't agree that there is a hegemonic beauty ideal. So I think it's kind of a misguided question, but I think if there was a hegemonic beauty ideal, obviously I think it would be dangerous in that what lengths do people go to meet that ideal, or how does it like prevent people from succeeding in life because of the way they look, or for instance like racism. Like racism could be seen as a hegemonic beauty ideal, like where in the world when pretty much everywhere you went where there's black people and white people, the white people had power and oppressed the black people. Like in a world like that, like obviously it shows like the danger in that it can get violent, it can get to the point where people are prejudiced against because of the way that they look. But I don't think that that's the way that the world is right now, and I don't think that that's what globalism is doing. I think that it's doing the opposite. I think that it's bringing to light the diversity that there really is, and people are able to see and appreciate the diversity that exists more so now than ever before.
I think what you're saying is kind of like in the article that one article was written about, if that makes any sense, about how the girl thought the black woman was envious of her petite white body. It's kind of saying like, well, obviously because we're white and we have all this power, like everybody around us like wants, not saying
Yeah.
that's an actual thing, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like that assumption again that like that power is there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the fact that there are different beauty ideals between black women and white women and Asian women, it shows that like they're really like there is a difference. It's not just the one beauty ideal.
Yeah. I think there is one beauty ideal that is most broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
because that is high fashion. High fashion makes a lot of money and they do things one particular way. The same way that like in another industry, for instance, it's like calling fast food the only food industry and saying that all food is fast food and all food is striving to be this fast food ideal. Like obviously that's not the case. Like there's still a market for like chain restaurants. There's still a market for like crappy like street market eateries. There's still like a market for like fine dining. Just because fast food is what we see the most doesn't mean that it's all that exists. So it's the same thing with fashion. Like just because there's this one fashion-based beauty ideal that exists doesn't mean that that's all that exists, and it doesn't mean that that's what everyone is trying to be. Like when I see like a model wearing a shirt and I like that shirt, I don't buy the shirt because I think it will make me look like that model. I buy the shirt because I like the way that the shirt looks, And I think with some like products, like for instance skin whitening cream, okay, maybe that's a little different because it's something that can kind of alter your appearance, but at the same time, like we do so many things to alter our appearance that don't have anything to do with that beauty ideal. For instance, like people dyeing their hair blue or something. Like a lot of people dye their hair colors, and like it doesn't have anything to do with that. So I don't know. I think
That's
this,
so interesting.
yeah. Will it work?
I think that's a really interesting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That's an interesting point because, like, from my point of view, I always felt that people had the same ideas of what beauty was growing up because that's what I just had grown up with and stuff. But then coming here, I realized that there's so many different perspectives, and then I like opened my eyes and like I saw so many different people as beautiful, and not just those people from the magazines or whatever. But yeah, that's a really interesting point of view. I liked how you compared it to the restaurants because, I mean, there's good food out there that's not fast food, so and there's beautiful people out there that aren't in the magazines, so.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm taking a class on globalism right now, so like I have a lot to say on this topic, I guess, because it's like relevant to what I'm learning in other classes. And so, but do you guys know when we started? I think we're almost at 30 minutes. Yeah.
We started at like
Yeah,
8:50.
7:53.
Oh, really?
7:53. Yeah.
27
So
minutes? Close enough.
yeah, we're good, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that's our last.
Good Oh yeah, it is, huh?
Canella, are you graduating this semester?
Next semester.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, good luck. This is my last semester.
I saw. Where are you going?
Oh really?
I'm moving to China, actually.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What
So,
are you in
um,
China?
I'm doing an internship with like a travel, like a tour company there, basically. So,
That
yeah,
is so cool.
yeah.
So
So we'll see. I move like
cool.
a week after graduation. It's like really soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so exciting.
But I'm
Well,
glad I had you as my group because you guys were good to have. So
You guys were great to have as well.
yeah, good job, guys, and
good
good
luck.
luck on your research paper thing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.